Welcome back. Hi everyone. We are on the series of HR records, and in this video we're looking at contracts. We're looking at how to set up contracts. On setting up a contract, we set new contract. However, before setting up a new contract, we have to go to settings. Then under setting, ensure you've set up the contract types. Please see a previous video on how to set up the contract types. We set up the salary types, and we also set up the allowance types. Once you've done the three, therefore you can proceed under HR records and we can set up contract. Setting up a contract, we say new contract. The contract is automatic. This comes from the setting field. We can pick the staff name on the contract for the contract. The contract type can be full-time, fixed-term, permanent, or a fixed-term contract, or we pick up a permanent contract, a status of draft or valid, the effective date, and then we can set up the expiration date for the contract. This will allow us to be able to have on the dashboard a reminder once the contract comes to an end. Once we set up that, we have the setups that we've already done. Remember, we set the various parameters on the salary type. We set up the allowance types also are set up. We can set up and pick all the allowances for that particular stuff. We can set signature date of the contract, or we can leave it blank for purposes of ensuring that we sign or it's signed when the employee signed. We can leave this blank also, the one that signed the contract. If there's any document that we attach, we can be able to attach it there. Once that is done, we save the contract. That's how we create a new contract under iExcel Core. So the contract has been added successfully, which can be signed by the staff or can be signed after we have given out the staff. So this is a draft contract. We can change the status of the contract to valid so that it can start, and therefore the contract can be signed by the staff. So to be able to go back, we can edit the contract. And under edit the contract, we can change the status of the contract to valid contract and save accordingly. This shows that the contract is valid and the content of the contracts we can add, or we can add the various contracts, or we can create the content of the contract from the template we had created earlier. However, we can put in the entire contract here by ensuring that we put all the details that we need for the purposes of. We can therefore create our contract on this detail, or we can go back to our template contract. So we can have here, and then we use the details or the staff first name here. We copy that and have that so that we have that dynamic. Then the title of the contract, then we have all the details that we want to type in on the contract. Then we can have the benefits of the contract or salaries types, and then we can put even the salary and the allowance bit on the schedule or on the contract. Once we have that, we can include that here for purposes of developing the contract. This contract we can view. This will allow us to view the contract. But remember, we can put the contract. The system allows us to have as detailed a contract as possible to ensure that we put all the fields, to ensure that we have all the terms and conditions, and to ensure even the staff is capable of signing the contract. So this can be set up as a contract template, and the staff is able to sign that contract and the date of signing, or you can download the contract or can sign the contract, and the contract is valid for the particular staff. So once the staff signs, or once the admin receives the contract, the admin can sign the contract and the contract is signed. The same appears on the staff portal, and when the staff logs in, the staff is able to sign the contract accordingly. This is how we set up contracts in our Excel core and ensure that contracts are fully signed by both the admin and the staff. So once the contract is signed by the admin or the relevant person, then the staff remains to sign. Once the staff remains and signs, they can download the contract for their own. Remember, we can do a detailed contract or use the template. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.